Singaporeans consume about, get this number, 75,000 tons of fish each year, but only about 5% are locally grown. A local farm is hoping to change all of that, though.
This is Kulbara, the largest fish farm in Singapore. Measuring some 7.5 hectares, it grows Barramundi, or what's commonly known as sea bass. The fish is harvested and filleted, and eventually half are exported to Australia.
Kulbara is aiming to build a second farm, but first it hopes to change Singaporeans' buying patterns. People here seem to prefer buying whole fish to fillets.
When it's filleted, it's very convenient. You don't have any bones. There's no pin bones also, unlike some other species of fish. We can supply the smaller fish, but generally the demand, I think, globally will be for fillets. And we are trying to educate the local markets here as well.
And here to tell us more about the fishing industry in Singapore and sustainable fish farming methods, we have with us Professor Lam Tung Jin, who is an emeritus professor for the Department of Biological Sciences, specializing in fish physiology and endocrinology at the National University of Singapore. Welcome, Professor Lam.
Welcome.
Prof, how does the latest farm, compare with other farms in terms of sustainability practices?
Yeah, first of all, I have to say that I have not actually visited the farm, so I don't have first-hand knowledge. But based on what I see and based on what I read, the farm is certainly bigger. It has a bigger enclosure compared to other fish farms. And it is located in open waters of Pulau Semakau, I believe, right? And these open waters have stronger currents, so I was told, and therefore there is more flushing of water in and out of the net cages. This is important because it will be able to disperse the waste from the fish as well as food waste out of the net and to be utilized by organisms in the surrounding waters to create more ecological balance, right, compared to other farms. So the difference is this is in more open water than in the coastal farms. And probably it has more flushing.
Right, so Prof. Lam, would you then say that there is a case to be made for having more fish farms out in open waters then?
I would think so, but then where are such areas if it is not in conflict with fishing lanes, so
right.
If they are available, it's one way to go.
So I guess that would be one of the challenges, isn't it, to fish farming in Singapore, finding that open space. But there's also the issue of fish dying in large amounts, marine bacteria perhaps causing that.
Not really. Here you have to understand that fish and other aquatic organisms actually live in its own sewer because it urinates, it defecates in the same environment it lives in, right? So, just like in our case, the waste have to be properly managed. If the waste were to accumulate and not being dispersed, it will create problem. It will create so much nutrients that algae will bloom. And the blooming of algae will cause oxygen depletion, or worse still, it may contain toxic algae, which may kill the fish.
Right.
That's what happened in the coastal pond, coastal net cages, where they are located quite closely with each other. And the flushing action, the wave, the currents may not be as strong.
I see.
And when temperature rises, all these ways, bacteria may increase, but mainly it's algae.
Right, but Prof, tell us, are there some types of fish then that are perhaps easier to farm then?
Yeah, generally speaking, fish that are in the lower level of food chain, I mean fish that feed on algae or are scavengers, there are no particular need for any specific kind of fish to eat or what. Those are the ones easier to culture. It would be like milkfish, mullet, or tilapia. Those will be easier. But in other cases, you have to feed them with high protein diets.
Prof, let's talk a bit about technology. How do you think the industry could benefit more with the use of technology?
Yeah, here I would have to now say that the key lies in the management of the waste. So if you have system that can manage these waste properly, it will be more sustainable. Let me just give you an example. There are basically two types of waste. One is the solid waste coming from the food waste and coming from the fecal waste, the feces. These, if you can have have organisms that will utilize this waste for their own growth, extractive species we call it, that can extract these waste. For example, mussel, or shellfish, or even fish at a lower trophic level. They'll feed on this. So that is the solid waste. Then you have the dissolved waste coming from the fish metabolism. That means when the fish burn proteins, the end product is ammonia, and ammonia is toxic. Then it is converted by bacteria. These are useful bacteria in the water to nitrates.
So the key really is to harness technology that would then be able to process this waste management.
So if you can have now plants to utilize the nitrates, then it will also lead to sustainability.
Okay.
So may I continue on? I just want to say that in Eastern Canada, that's what they do. They surround the salmon farming with mussel farming.
So they're actually using another type of species.
Yeah, to extract
sort of
the solid waste. And then they further surround, further afield with seaweed to extract the nitrates.
It's a fascinating method. Thanks so much for sharing that insight with us, Professor Lam. Professor Lam Tung Jin there of the Department of Biological Sciences at NUS.